Did you know that the first European settlers of Delaware weren't English but rather Swedes? Yes, you heard it right. In the 17th century, the lush lands of Delaware were first claimed not by the English, but by the Swedes, making it one of the unexpected chapters in the history of European colonization. During this era, the race was on for European powers to establish colonies in the New World. England, Spain, Portugal, and France had already staked their claims. But the Swedes, too, wanted a piece of the action. So, in the year 1638, they set sail across the formidable Atlantic, marking the beginning of the Swedish colonial period in North America. Delaware became home to the New Sweden colony, a settlement that would leave a lasting imprint on the region's culture and history. Now let's dive into the origins of these Swedish settlers and their journey to the New World. In the winter of 1637, two ships set out from Sweden, embarking on a journey that would forever change the course of Delaware's history. The voyage was anything but smooth sailing. The ships, Kalmar Nickel and Fogel Grip, battled fierce storms, icy waters, and the relentless, bone-chilling cold. The journey was fraught with danger, but the promise of a new world, ripe with opportunities, fueled the crew's determination. At the helm of this expedition was Peter Minuit, a man of vision and ambition. A former Dutch governor, Minuit had a dream to establish a Swedish foothold in the New World. He believed in the potential of the unexplored land, a place where Swedes could create a prosperous colony, free from the conflicts and struggles of the Old World. The motivation for this journey was not just about discovery and adventure. The Swedish Empire, under the rule of Queen Christina, was also eager to expand its influence and wealth. The New World represented a new frontier for trade, particularly for tobacco, fur, and timber. But the journey was not without its challenges. Disease swept through the ship, claiming the lives of many. Food and water supplies dwindled as the expedition stretched into months. Yet, despite the hardships, the crew persevered, driven by the dream of a new beginning. In the midst of all this, Peter Minuit proved to be an able leader. His experience and knowledge of the New World, gained from his time as governor of New Netherland, guided the crew through the trials of the journey. His unwavering resolve and leadership inspired his men, keeping morale high in the face of adversity. After months of hardship, they finally reached their destination, the land that we now know as Delaware. The journey was long and perilous, but the dream of a new Swedish colony in the New World had kept them going. As the ships anchored, there was a collective sigh of relief, a sense of achievement, and a burst of anticipation for what lay ahead. After months of hardship, they finally reached their destination, the land that we now know as Delaware. They named their new home New Sweden, and quickly set about building a life in this unfamiliar land. It was a daunting task, carving out a new existence in a place so different from their homeland. The first settlers, under the leadership of Peter Minuit, a former governor of New Amsterdam, knew they had to establish a stronghold. This led to the construction of Fort Christina, named after the then reigning Swedish queen. Fort Christina, located at the junction of the Christina River and Brandywine Creek, was more than just a military outpost. It was the heart of the colony, a beacon of hope amidst the vast wilderness. The colonists worked tirelessly, clearing land, building homes, and setting up farms. They traded with the Lenape, the native people who had inhabited the land for centuries. The Swedes brought iron tools, cloth, and other goods, while the Lenape provided furs and food supplies. The interaction with the Lenape was largely peaceful, a testament to the diplomatic skills of the Swedish settlers. They learned from each other, sharing knowledge and practices that helped both communities survive. The Swedes respected the native people's way of life, treating them as equals rather than subordinates, a rare occurrence in the era of colonization. The colony grew slowly but steadily. More settlers arrived, attracted by the promise of land and freedom. They established more settlements, expanding their reach along the Delaware River. Despite the harsh winters, the threat of disease, and the constant struggle for survival, they persevered. They built churches, schools, and trading posts, creating a thriving community. They introduced new crops, such as barley and rye, and developed a fur trade that brought prosperity to the region. The legacy of this time can still be seen today in the Swedish names of many towns and rivers in Delaware. The settlers of New Sweden left an indelible mark on the land and its people, a testament to their resilience and spirit. Despite the difficulties, New Sweden managed to survive, but the peace wouldn't last for long. The colony would soon face new challenges as powerful forces set their sights on this small piece of the New World. But that's a story for another time. By 1655, the Dutch, who had their eyes on the prosperous New Sweden, decided to take action. The Dutch Empire, a powerhouse of global trade, had been observing the growth of New Sweden with a mix of curiosity and concern. They couldn't ignore the potential threat posed by this thriving Swedish colony, located in a region they considered their own. The Dutch had established New Netherland in 1624, a full 14 years before the Swedes. They had claimed the region along the Hudson River, and their main settlement, New Amsterdam, was located where modern-day Manhattan stands. However, the Swedish colony of New Sweden was situated at the mouth of the Delaware River, uncomfortably close to the Dutch territories. The tension was palpable. The Swedes and the Dutch had coexisted, each focusing on their own development, but friction was inevitable. The Dutch viewed the Swedes as interlopers, encroaching on their territory and threatening their trade. The Swedes, on the other hand, had grown confident and bold in their new home. The Dutch governor, Peter Stuyvesant, a man of action and ambition, decided to deal with this Swedish problem. In the late summer of 1655, he led a force of 600 men, sailing south from New Amsterdam. Their destination, New Sweden. The Swedish governor, Johan Rising, was taken by surprise. He and his colony were unprepared for a military confrontation. Despite a brave defense, the Swedes were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. After 2 weeks of resistance, Governor Rising surrendered New Sweden to the Dutch. Stuyvesant allowed the Swedes to stay, but now they lived under Dutch rule. The colony was renamed New Amstel, and it became a part of the larger Dutch colony of New Netherland. The Dutch had effectively ended the Swedish presence in North America. With that, the Swedish rule in Delaware came to an end, but their legacy lived on. The Dutch takeover marked a significant shift in the colonial landscape, but the influence of the Swedes in Delaware was far from over. Their story, their struggles, their triumphs, and their ultimate defeat would echo through the centuries, shaping the identity of this part of the New World. Despite their short reign, the Swedes had a lasting impact on Delaware. Even though the Swedish control of the area was brief, spanning less than 2 decades from 1638 to 1655, their influence can still be observed today. Let's start with the most tangible influence: the log cabin. Yes, the quintessential symbol of the American frontier, the log cabin, has its roots in the Swedish building tradition. Swedish settlers brought with them the knowledge of constructing sturdy, efficient log structures, a skill honed by centuries of Scandinavian winters. This architectural style quickly took hold in the New World, due to its simplicity and the abundance of timber. Today, the log cabin stands as an iconic symbol of American pioneering spirit, a testament to the enduring influence of the Swedes. But the Swedish legacy in Delaware isn't just about wooden structures, it's also about spiritual ones. The Swedes established some of the oldest churches in America, churches that have stood the test of time and continue to serve their communities. The Holy Trinity Church, also known as Old Swedes Church in Wilmington, Delaware, is a prime example. Constructed in 1698, it's one of the oldest continuously used churches in the United States. It stands as a silent witness to the Swedish influence in the region, its stones holding stories of centuries past. Moreover, the Swedish influence extends to Delaware's cultural fabric. The annual Midsummer Festival, a traditional Swedish celebration of the summer solstice, continues to be celebrated in Delaware, keeping alive the Swedish traditions and customs. So, the Swedish chapter in Delaware's history, though brief, has left an indelible mark. It's a story of resilience, adaptation, and lasting influence. It's a story that continues to shape Delaware's identity, from its architecture to its spiritual life, from its cultural celebrations to its everyday life. So, next time you think of Delaware, remember its Swedish roots and the fascinating history of New Sweden. In the span of just 17 years, the Swedes established a colony, faced off with the Dutch, and left a lasting legacy in Delaware. They embarked on a daring journey across the Atlantic, braving the unknown in search of new opportunities. This voyage led to the establishment of New Sweden, a small but resilient colony that was home to diverse cultures and traditions. However, the survival of New Sweden was challenged by the Dutch, who, after a series of conflicts, eventually took control of the colony. Despite this, the Swedish influence didn't fade away. It infused itself into the fabric of the region, leaving a legacy that's still evident today. So there you have it, a tale of exploration, conflict, and cultural fusion that played out over 17 short years. Who knew that Delaware, the first state to ratify the U.S. Constitution, had such a rich and diverse history? Thanks for joining us on this historical journey. Until next time, keep exploring the world around you.